So here we go. Let's get into it. A strong and healthy body. Why is it important? Well, first, what is it? Why is it important? All that fun stuff, right? Now, let's start from the top here, right? This is the third part of the S.C.A.L method, okay? And what the S.C.A.L method is, we're going to go over all of this just one more time, right? What the S.C.A.L method is basically it's a style of training, a method in training, my method of training, of coaching that is concerned with the entirety of your being, okay? So basically, think of it this way. Are you your body, or are you your mind, or are you your heart, or are you your soul? Now, instead of saying or in between each of those sections, what the S.C.A.L method says is basically yes and. So are you your body? Yes, and we are our hearts. Okay. Are you your hearts? Yes, and we are our minds. Okay. Are you your minds? Yes, and we are our souls, right? So what the S.C.A.L method is concerned about is a sound heart, a sound mind, a strong and healthy body, and a strong and healthy soul. All of those combined. So everything concerning this podcast, everything that basically comes from my mouth, every single bit of training is totally locked in on making you better overall. So there'll be tips and things like that for the fitness, for the thinking, for the feeling, for your soul. Right? And all of that stuff comes into play because that's important. So we're concerned here with total being fitness, not just total body fitness, right? Total being fitness. Okay? So that's the S.C.A.L method. So today we're going to talk about the third part of the S.C.A.L method, which is a strong and healthy body. Okay? Now, why is it important? Okay. So your body is a physical expression of the balance or lack thereof of the rest of your being. Okay. Worded differently, your physicality is an expression of your thinking, your feeling, and your soul. So that's saying whatever goes on in the other three sections of your being, the three parts of your being, whatever goes on there shows up in your body. It shows up in your physicality. Okay? So at the same time, the very same time, your physical state also affects your mind, your heart, and your spirit or soul. Right? So it's a two-way street, right? It's almost like a forever loop, right? It's like one affects the other, affects the other, affects the other, and it just keeps going. So it's a constant feedback loop, basically, right? Going back and forth between the two. So it's important to have a healthy and strong body because the process in achieving said healthy and strong body improves you in your thinking, your feeling, and in your soul. And I often go back to Proverbs 27, I think 17, which says that as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. And I lock in on the first part of that verse, as iron sharpens iron. Okay? So like ancient smiths used to use iron hammers to like beat out different iron utensils, right? So it was like one version of iron used to, mold and sharpen other versions of iron. And I think about that often because what it's basically saying is you have a like element sharpening a like element. And I take that to the S.C.A.L method overall, right? So basically what I propose is as iron sharpens iron, so a strong and healthy body sharpens one's mind, heart, and soul. So let's talk about that connection between having a healthy, strong body, and we'll start with your mind. So physiologically, exercise alone, just take exercise by itself, right? The process of strengthening your body, the process of making your body healthy in general, right? Exercise is a big boon to that. But that process alone releases neurotransmitters that boost your mood. It promotes the growth of new neurons and synapses. It promotes brain health in general because it also improves circulation to the brain, right? Increases the brain's ability, and this is a cool one, it increases the brain's ability to adapt and change, which is called neuroplasticity, okay? It also boosts your immunity in general, right, which leads to better health as well. So there are all these physiological benefits to exercise, but to the process of building and or maintaining a physically strong and healthy body, right? But there are also major philosophical benefits, right? There are two main big, I guess, maybe I don't want to say philosophical, but like non-physiological, okay? I'm just I don't want to overtalk it, but there are two big non-physiological benefits to working on maintaining, building a strong and healthy body. One is endurance, and I talk about that a few episodes back as well, right? More than a handful of episodes back, I talk about the value of endurance. What does it mean to endure? Go check that out as well, right? And there are parallels between your physical endurance and your mental endurance, right? Oftentimes, building up that physical endurance builds up your mental endurance, in that it changes your relationship with pain. So yeah, let's stay there for a quick second, right? The process of building up your body physically, right? It's a process of like, it's working out, it's exercising, right? But it's pushing your limits. It's stepping forward, taking a step in a direction of pain and discomfort in order to be better, because it's better on the other end of that pain and discomfort, right? That's what builds up that endurance. That's what builds up that resilience. You are intentionally, strategically, there's another episode coming into play, stepping into something that's uncomfortable and at times painful in order to be better, right? So it's like it gives you some practice in dealing with the discomfort and pain in other parts of life. Generally speaking, people who work out, especially those who do resistance training, they tend to be more resilient. They built their shoulders to handle a little bit more. A little bit more weight, a little bit more. But that's not just weight physically, because yes, they built their shoulders up to build more or to handle more weight physically, but that's also metaphorically. They built their shoulders to handle more weight. That's and that's probably one of the most common trends I see, where it's like I can tell somebody who doesn't really, like, without seeing them, eyes closed, just listening to them speak, I could tell if they work out or not, and I could tell how hard they push it. I think you could too, right? Because just people who work out in that way, who train in that way, they move differently. And I mean, obviously they do, but they metaphorically move differently. They speak differently. They at times will invite pain because they know it makes them better on the back end, and they're all with it. They're ready for it, right? They just notice the way some people talk sometimes. You'll be able to tell. You'll be able to tell because, I mean, at least to me, it comes through clear. I can tell if you work out or not. I can tell if you push it or not. Because so much of that translates into how you handle life situations. Okay. Now, the next big non-physiological benefit comes by the way of discipline. Okay. Discipline is a practice of training to follow rules, guides, or a code of behavior. It requires that one keep self-control, stays focused on targets, and applies constant effort. Now, working out, exercising, the process of building your body to be stronger and healthier overall lends itself to you gaining that discipline. And again, whatever you gain on the physical side can be used for all the other parts of your life, right? So that discipline that you gain typically is a tool that could lead to, let's say, a disciplined spirit. So, and it definitely can lead to a disciplined, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but it definitely leads to a disciplined mind. It is said that discipline is a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it gets. So by physically exercising, you're working in discipline, which makes it stronger for when you apply it to the other parts of your life. It becomes easier and it becomes more effective. It almost has I love this word multiplicative, but it has multiplicative benefits for your mind and your heart and your soul. All right. So this connection, though, doesn't only go one way. It goes two ways here, right? Like all these connections go two ways. And they go back and forth. Remember that constant feedback loop, right? So oftentimes, what you think shows up in your physical state. Oftentimes. Okay? And of course, what you think turns into what you do. Your mind determines your state of being. Now, hold on for 1 second, right? I'm going to pull off on the side a little bit because there's other components here when it comes to that. So your mind determines your state of being. Your body is a reflection of your thinking. But not just your thinking, is also a reflection of your feeling, right? Those two are really, your thinking and your feeling are interconnected. They're tied closely together. Your body's a reflection of your thinking and your feeling, right? And just for posterity and just for completion, your heart determines what you do. And your soul is the core of who you are. It's the glue that keeps you together. It's the glue that keeps you, like your soul is, right? So it's basically the only unchanging part of you. It's the only eternal portion of you. Okay? But that's the soul. I just had to complete that because I couldn't leave that hanging. Just my mind won't let it happen. So, all right. So let's talk about what's the link between having a strong body and a sound heart, or worded differently. What is the link between physical fitness and emotional fitness? So we already know that when you train your emotional self, you train your thinking self, right? Remember, it's the emotional intelligence. It's the being aware of how your thoughts and feelings interplay that gets you to a solid emotional base, so to speak, right? So it's fair to say that all the benefits your mind gets from physical fitness and physical health, your heart, metaphorically, does as well. And oftentimes, well, metaphorically and physically, but and oftentimes how you feel shows up in your body. Your feelings can change what you do, But even deeper than that, your feelings can change how your body works. And that's the kicker, right? So, you know, you don't need to look any further than a depressed person and the health issues that arise just simply from that, right? So I don't know. Well, I know why, but angry people typically have shorter lives. You know, depressed folk often fall prey to chronic sickness and disease, whether that's through lack of activity or by an actual hormonal change internally. Check out the link between like your emotions and how you're feeling in like irritable bowel syndrome, right? IBS, and the umbrella of all of those gastric conditions, gastrointestinal conditions. There are some pretty strong links between one's emotional state and their intestinal state. Let's put it that way, right? And there's even more studies coming out, showing that link too. And now, not all of them show like actual causation or anything like that, but there are some strong links between a lot of these, gastrointestinal conditions and anxiety and depression. On the other end, I noticed that generally happy people tend to reach their health and fitness goals, right? And again, loosely speaking here, it usually doesn't work the other way around, right? So like I've had a lot of people say that, well, yeah, I'll be happy when I reach A, B, or C, right? But then it's just like, it was almost a self-defeating thing before you can even get to it. And what I found that the most people who had the most success with reaching their goals, at least in this industry, in this realm, right, is like they're already good. They're good. They're already happy, right? And they don't depend on the end result of something that is not guaranteed at all to make them happy. So it's just very, like, I tend to look at them with like kind of a scrutinizing look, like, that means there's more to work on in the background than just getting you healthy and fit, right? So, you're, and the thing about it is like your emotional state can help you or hurt you, point blank, right? It's either going to amplify your physical efforts or completely, totally, and utterly work against them. So it's just like, and it decreases the likelihood of you ever reaching those goals in the first place. So it's just like I can't. I tend to just kind of like, are you sure about that? Like, you'll be happy when, so on and so forth. Like, it just doesn't work out that well, at least as far as what I've seen. It doesn't work out that well that way. So right now we talked about, as far as this section goes, we talked about how your physical state, your physicality, having a healthy and strong body affects your mind, how it affects your heart, and how your mind and your heart affects your physical state, right? We got that knocked out. So we're going to get to, so I saved the last section because there are a lot of different workings in terms of how having a healthy and strong body leads to, and why is important for having a healthy and strong soul. Okay. So we're going to close out here, take a quick break, and then we're going to jump up right over to the next section here. All right.